kënaqësinë t'ju uroj mirëseardhje në punimet e konferencës vjetore të Bankës së Shqipërisë. Prej gati 2 dekadash, konferenca është ndruar në një nga ngjarjet më kulmore të vrimtarisë së institucionit në fushën studimore dhe profesionale. Analizat dhe konkluzionet tona, vit pas viti, kanë tentuar të japin përgjigje shumë sfidave dhe dilemave me të cilat përballet ekonomia jonë kombëtare dhe jo vetëm. Fal bashkëpunimit me Universitetin e Oxfordit, më konkretisht me Kolegjin Sant Antony, kjo konferencë ka synuar dhe besoj se ka arritur me sukses të hulumtojë dhe të japë përgjigje shumë çështjeve, të cilat për nga natyra, efektet dhe ndërveprimi mes tyre janë të pranishme në të gjithë rajonin e Europës juglindore.
I think these conferences are very important because they allow for cooperation between universities and institutions such as the Central Bank of Albania, and they allow for this academic debate to be combined with policy-making debate. Bringing us, academics, together with policymakers and thinking of all those contemporary and important issues, I think that we are contributing to the debate, we are thinking together.
A lot of the presentations that we have seen today were clearly very well studied and based on sound academic research, and it was important that also policymakers were present and that also journalists were present so that both the policymakers and the general public can have an idea of the type of research that has policy relevance, that is conducted both in academia and by policy institutions such as the Central Bank of Albania.
Prospects for the next few years look good. But there are still things to be done. First, there are legacies from the crisis. Non-performing loans in the banks are very high, and those need to be addressed. Public debt has increased a lot, so further consolidation would be helpful. If we take a longer-term perspective, Western Balkans is still poor compared to the rest of Europe. This is because there is not as much capital per worker and not as many people work. So it's important to continue with reforms so that the Western Balkans becomes an interesting and good place to invest and create jobs.
Countries in the region have high levels of euro in the real economy. You will have to, over time, gradually lower that level of what is called euroization. That is going to be difficult, it is expensive, but it needs to be managed. It can only be done in cooperation with other central banks. And I'm very much encouraged by this conference because I can see a willingness to engage between central banks and finance ministries to say, we are going to link forces, we join brothers and sisters in arms in order to do business together. And the IMF and the World Bank are in the same boat.
You need a deepening of a financial system, and foreign banks, especially banks from the euro area, but also Austrian banks, can play a role in this deepening to supply financial services, banking services to the population so that all of the population has access to banking services.
Financial inclusion is important because when we have financial inclusion, people and businesses have access to financial products that are affordable and that meet their needs. Financial inclusion can really help in day-to-day life. When people have transaction accounts, they're more likely to use insurance, they can invest in starting businesses, and they can also invest in education and health. They can plan for the future, and they can manage unexpected risks that might come up. For businesses, when they have access to finances, they're more likely to innovate, to generate growth, and to create good jobs.
Central banks have been doing the right thing to move more deeply into the political economic territory. Their policies always had impact through inflation, impact on inflation, on savings behavior, on income distribution, but only at the margin. With the crisis response, the central banks had to up their game, which they have done, together with the fiscal authorities. So the central banks have picked certain new responsibilities. And these responsibilities are increasingly political by nature and impact. And it's right to do, and that's your question, it's right to do some more accountability for that. So my proposal would not be that the central bank doesn't do certain important things, and I think what the central bank has done here has been excellent. But when there are new responsibilities, you attach a new accountability mechanism.
Mislim da centralne banke treba da budu kao i što jesu, predvodnice dobre saradnje našeg regiona, država našeg regiona. Također, kazao sam na panelu, ponovit ću ovdje, mi imamo različite monetarne politike, ali iste ciljeve. Naši ciljevi su financijska stabilnost, stabilnost cjenovne politike, ali i određene druge elemente koji se tiču makroprudencijalne kontrole. Naša kooperacija, regionalna kooperacija doprinosi ubrzavanju procesa integracija i u što kraćem roku prihvatanja najbolje bankarske prakse i bankarskih standarda. Dakle, nije suština u formi, nego u kvalitetu života našeg regiona i naše povezivanje, ne samo preko infrastrukturnih projekata i ne samo preko centralnih banaka, obezbijedit će kvalitetni život svima nama u regionu.
Conference today was focused in many aspects with regards to banking development and financial market infrastructure. That was also the title of the conference. That was a common consensus that other segments of the financial markets should be activated. And the role of the central bank in this activation and in this market should be more proactive from the regulatory point of view. We have also common understanding and very similar conclusions with regard to financial inclusion, financial literacy, and financial education. It is an objective of the central banks, the financial education, that will influence and impact the increasing of the involvement and financial inclusion of the people in relation with the banking sector and with the financial industry. Unfortunately, there are very, very low figures with regards to the banking and the inclusion and involvement of the people to the banking sector. There were very, very good conclusions, and these conclusions of our conference will be as a guidelines for all our central banks in the future to improve our work with regards to what I mentioned. Thank you.